Waheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Waheguru Ji Ki Fateh. A very warm welcome to Sangat Television, the program Community Matters. My name is Awnit Singh from the Kalgidhar Trust, London. Today is the second episode of our program where there's a focus on education. And it's a repeat interview with a young star, a young man, a young Sikh who is only 19, who is at Harvard University in the United States. Awnit Singh, Marta. A very warm welcome to Sangat Television.
Thank you very much.
And thank you for making the time to be here with us today. We gave quite a good overview of your journey from childhood, from Afghanistan to Holland, from Holland to the United Kingdom, and that journey to Harvard University in America. Awnit Singh ji, can you tell us what really inspired you to be aiming for a unique elite university like Harvard? What inspired you?
Well, I think it was the support I received from my parents, from the people around me. These people inspired me to thrive and always try my best, to be ambitious in life, and not to just settle for what's average and trying to really aim high in life.
So the idea was to aim high.
Yeah.
Is that a Khalsa principle, to be aiming high?
Oh yeah, definitely. And it's only when you aim high that you can achieve high. If you don't even try in the first place, you'd never actually reach that stage. So I definitely think that's a Khalsa principle, yes.
No, I think it's unique what you went through, but there must have been preparation.
Oh yeah, of course.
The journey must have begun over a period of time. You know, what were the steps that you took for this preparation?
Sure. So it really began when I was introduced to a program called Sutton Trust, as we touched upon last time. And this program is essentially a summer school which mentors you and helps you to guide towards applying to universities in America. They even took us for a week to the East Coast, and we got to visit really big name universities, so Columbia University, Yale, MIT, Harvard, Princeton, all these big universities.
The Sutton program.
The Sutton Trust program. Yeah.
Sutton?
Trust.
Trust.
Yes.
Yes. Sutton Trust program.
And this was around January time of 2015, so just through the middle of year 12, the first year of sixth form. And through that program, I was able to write my essays, take all the necessary exams for the US, and then later on actually apply. So my journey was unique in the sense that I was able to receive a lot of help from an organization. Of course, there are other students in my school who didn't get into the program.
How did the program arrive, the Sutton Trust program? Did it arrive at your school?
Well, there was one student who had previously applied to the program.
From your school?
From my school, the year before. So I knew that the program existed.
And which school did you go to here?
Greenwood High School.
Okay.
Yeah, for high school and sixth form. So I knew the program existed, and my high school teachers were aware that I had some interest in applying to the US. So I essentially applied for the program. I was able to get in. They taught us all the basics that we need to know for how to apply. And from there on, my journey began to writing essays and getting ready for exams, and then eventually applying.
And these essays were just for practice? Or were they submitted somewhere?
Oh yeah, they were definitely submitted. So with American universities, unlike the personal statement, which is very academic and focused on simply your grades and how much you love your subject, in America, when you apply to a university, you're applying just to the university, not applying for a certain degree at the university. That doesn't happen until after you go to the university. So my essays, I had to write 2 of them, were focused on my journey. So I talked a lot about my inspirations, my mum, how I do seva at the Gurdwara, my Punjabi classes, and how I was inspired by Sikhi. And my other essay was about a go-kart that we built in school. It's an electrical vehicle that we raced at multiple events. Well, we didn't win, but we tried. And so I wrote about that experience and how much I learned from that experience.
You see, Sutton Trust, obviously, you got to hear about it through a friend. Do they have school visits, the Sutton Trust? And if they don't, how do you encourage other Sikhs, students who are doing GCSEs and A-levels at the moment, to look at when the Sutton Trust will be visiting the UK, or how to sort of access information from the Sutton Trust to apply?
Well, I think a lot of it requires curiosity on your own part. I was very curious with and interested in applying to the US. So even if my friend hadn't told me about this opportunity, I was always Googling things, looking up things, trying to find out what I can do on my side to increase my chances of applying. So the best thing you could do is, even if it's the stupidest search, like how to apply to America, there's so much information out there that can help you.
Where do you access this information?
So
if you're interested, where do you start?
So if I would start with with Googling Sutton Trust US program, and we could provide more information about that later on the screen. And their website really goes into detail about every step. They have lots of PDFs which provide instructions, click this button, click this, type this, and it helps you step by step through that process.
So it's almost saying, I'm interested in going to the US, how do I proceed? So once you start surfing the net, of course, a lot of information will just come forward.
Oh yes, of course.
Are there any books, already published books, as to how to apply? Maybe books are a bit out of date these days.
Yeah, true that.
It's not that customary, but it's more websites. But
of course, yeah.
Is there a book?
I do not recall if there's a book. I remember there being a book about different American universities built for UK students, but essentially it's probably a lot of the information on that Sutton Trust website.
Can you tell us a little about how you achieve the grades and how you can recommend others to do the same?
Okay, so this brings the second difference between UK and US universities, which is when you apply to university here, it's a conditional offer. And until you meet those conditions, which are the grades, you don't know if you've secured a place at that university. In the US, the way the system works is that when you apply to university and they accept you, they expect you to do well throughout the year. However, they don't provide certain grades that you have to achieve. That doesn't mean you can just slack off.
This is the academic subjects that you're studying?
Yes.
Yeah, throughout the year.
So I didn't receive a condition from Harvard University saying you have to receive these grades, otherwise we won't accept you. But they said that if I slack academically, that would be a problem. So that's the main difference that I wanted to point out.
Or you didn't select an academic subject? Is that what you're saying?
Oh no, I'm saying that they want you to do well, but they don't give a certain criteria, unlike UK universities.
Okay.
To answer the question though, which was how I continue to do well with A-levels, it's all about a mindset, and it's all about what you really want to achieve. If you have a mindset that you can't achieve this, and if you have a mindset which makes you feel like this is not for you, I don't think you'll be able to achieve it. But essentially these exams are made for people to pass. They're not made so that everyone fails. So if you go in with that mindset, then I think it's easier to do well.
Does this mindset equals Chardi Kala?
Of course, yes, definitely.
So if you're positive, you believe you can do it, you will do it.
Yes.
Now that's fascinating. And I hope this is a clear message to the listeners that the gift of Sikhi on Chardi Kala needs to be pursued. Definitely need to be pursued. Other than sort of good grades, like in the UK, the universities are looking for extra activities other than the academic subjects. Is there something similar in the States where they're looking at your performance in maybe football or cricket? Or
actually, I like that you point this out right after grades. So in the UK, when you fill out your personal statement, you get one piece of A4, and a lot of it is just talking about the books you like in your subject, the work experience you've done related to your subject, the grades you've been achieving in your subject, and then right at the end you get to write 3 sentences about your extracurriculars. And that's a massive difference between the US and the UK. Over there you get a whole page just to talk about your extracurriculars, because they really care about what you do outside the class, because who you are outside of class is as important as your grades, if not more important. So I spent a lot of my application talking about the go-kart project, as I mentioned, and the seva I do at the Gurdwara, or even simple things like the taking care of my little brother when no one's home. These little things might not matter a lot, but they talk a lot about who you are as a person. So in the UK, the universities want you to do well academically, but they don't as much care about what you do outside. Whereas in the US, there's a real importance on joining new clubs. So I'm part of the Sikh Association at school, I'm part of the South Asian Society at school, I'm part of the Bhangra team, I'm planning to join a newspaper organization so I can write for them and take photos for them. So I'm trying to do all these new things which are outside my comfort zone.
So the application is just not a one-off filling of forms. You mentioned the essays you had to write. So these essays, were they written over a period of 1 year, submitted on different things? Am I right in making that assumption?
So the time process of applying to an American university is definitely much longer, because you have to put so much more thought into it, because you want to present this word they use, holistic view of who you are as a person. So not just focused on your academics, but extracurriculars, what you do outside of school, all of these things go into play. So with the Southern Trust, since I applied in January, from April onwards until November, when the deadline is, so over around 6 months, I had to do a lot of work on my essays and on my application to make sure that it represents a perfect image of me. It's all about being authentic and showing the best person you are, not showing them what they think the best person is.
It's almost a 5-6 month application.
Yes.
Where there's a slow assessment. But you know, the beauty of what you have actually said is, you said simple things about your seva in the Gurdwara, about your knowledge of Sikhi, about your knowledge of Punjabi language, about you sort of babysitting your brother. You know, these are sometimes not, they're norm, but people are shy to talk about them. They're fairly norm for a number of Sikh students who go to Punjabi classes. I know, for example, at Guru Nanak Darbar, there's about 800 students at this moment in time. And I think they need to be aware that they need to be proud of some of the activities, even like Hemkund Symposium, what they go through, that it's going to play a very important part in their lives. Did you anywhere mention about Hemkund Symposium?
Oh yes.
In the application?
There's a section where you can enter 5 of your biggest achievements. And one of them was mentioning that I got to reach the international round for Hemkund Symposium. Now I'm sure there's lots of kids out there who are wondering, I will never achieve reaching the international round, or I don't think I've done something very big. But life's not perfect for me as well, even though people might think I'm living the perfect life. And what I mean by this is that I came runner-up for the Himkund speech for around 6 years. I started in around 2008, and until 2014 I'd never achieved higher than runner-up. And then after that I came 5th position, and then I started going up, and then I finally reached international round. So it's all about persevering and trying again and not giving up.
Did you mention about the sort of training you gained at Hemkund Symposium in terms of personal development, public
definitely.
speaking, so that the university was aware of the skill sets that you had acquired?
Definitely.
Yeah. What did you say?
I mentioned that it's given me a lot of confidence to be able to speak to people, but not just speak to people about my culture and history very proudly. There used to be times where I used to not talk a lot about Sikhi, not talk a lot about culture, because I thought it was kind of weird for me. But I think everyone reaches a stage in teenagehood and adulthood where they realize that what they're trying to shy away from most is what's most important to them.
What does the university look for in your application and personal statement? Now, just reversing the role from what you did, but now reversing the role to the university, what do they look for in your personal statement and application?
That's actually a very good question, because I really did want to mention this. The university isn't comparing student by student. They don't say, this student did this, but this student did this thing, so they're even better. The university is looking for someone who can contribute best to the community, do best for the world. And what I mean by this is that you don't have to have cured cancer, for example. I mean, it would be great if you have, but if you haven't, that doesn't matter. That's not important. What's important is that you have a lot of qualities that you can give back, not just to the bigger community, but even just at being at Harvard. So there are a lot of people that I know who really intimidate me because they've got these big charities and they own multi-million dollar corporations, and then I'm wondering, what's so important about me? Well, what's important about me is that I was very authentic in my application, and that I showed them that I've got these qualities that can really contribute to the Harvard community, and that's what matters the most. That's what the administration is looking for, someone who can contribute to their society.
That's interesting. You mentioned the Harvard community, what you can contribute to the Harvard community. But does the university also look from another angle to say, here is a young man or a young lady with a talent pool. How can we develop this further at Harvard so that they can interact better with the communities in their life as they progress, as they evolve through their lives, that they can contribute better? And how does universities like Harvard hone these skills that you already had and you proved through essay writings and telling them your story? How does the university actually improve those skills further? I know you have just completed your first year, but you do show a degree of maturity. What have you sensed from the way things are evolving at the university in preparing you for the world outside?
I'm not sure if this is very specific to just my university, but generally with university you gain a lot of independence, as you know, and through that independence there's a sense of maturity that comes with itself. I don't cook for myself because Harvard has dining halls where we can all eat food. But I know a lot of universities where you have to do that for yourself, which adds to a degree of independence. I also think that academically there are certain subjects that we have to take, so like core subjects, and these subjects also help us develop. So there's writing, and there's classes that we have to take on history and science and mathematics, and all these classes contribute to a level of maturity, I feel.
What did you learn from the community yourself? What have you picked from other students? Like you said, people are from different backgrounds. Some are running a huge big trust, which are very much community, society, based, how to develop underprivileged communities and all that. Some come from big businesses, some, like yourself, come from fairly disadvantaged economic backgrounds. What have you learned from others? Because they all have a contribution to make. That's why they are at an elite university like Harvard. What have you picked up from these other students?
I would say when I first met these people, my first impression would never have been that these people have so much money and these people are so elite and rich. That's because they are so humble. And it's reminded me that no matter how much I have, I should always remain humble, and I should always approach people with kindness and openness, because I get to learn a lot from them. I think that those are the main qualities I picked up from them.
The humility, despite the fact they came from such successful backgrounds. Has any of your fellow students made any comments about your humility? How humble you are, how Sikhi has actually developed you? Has anybody made any comments on that?
I have a few friends who have really been inspired by me with how much I'm trying to push the Sikh group that we have, because we're not a big group. We haven't been able to really kick in and try to do some big projects. So they've been really inspired by the fact that I'm really trying to push for that. And hopefully in the future we will be able to do something big in the community.
Sure. And how many Sikh students have you got overall in Harvard University?
In the undergraduate population, I would say no more than 20. But
postgraduate?
Including the law school, the business school, and all these other schools that Harvard has. Probably not more than 40. There's not a big Sikh population. That kind of surprised me at first.
And tell me, Awnit, is there anything that you recommend for reading for the potential student on the activities or personal statement for Harvard?
So
any reading list that you may have?
For the UK, if you really want to get some advice on applying to the UK, I would recommend read books which are orientated around the subjects that you want to apply for. When I was applying for physics at my UK universities, I was reading a book by Stephen Hawking, and I was reading books by other physicists, and I put those down on my personal statement on how they contributed to how much I like physics. For the US, I would say just read anything and enjoy reading, because you get so much out of reading. If you've heard of books such as The Kite Runner, I love books like that because they give so much thought and emotion through the book. And for me, at least, it connects me back to Afghanistan, because I don't remember any of it. I was a very little kid back then. But it's still, there was a connection that formed for me, and I love reading books like that.
Was there any reflections in your essays about, you mentioned physics and all that, about the Sikh teachings in Guru Granth Sahib about the origins of the universe? Did you ever dwell on that, or did you not have sufficient knowledge to develop on that?
I would say I didn't have sufficient knowledge to develop on that, but also with our personal statement, at least, there's not a lot of space, so you have to be very tight on what you do say. So there were times where I would cut out one word to make sure that I have enough words to finish my personal statement. So no, I didn't get to touch on that.
The final question I have for you, Awnit, is on the interview process. In the UK, universities have interviews with the student, sometimes based on your interests in the subject matter, and they also get a better idea of your personality.
Mhm.
Can you dwell on the process that elite universities in America, and especially Harvard University, adopted?
Yeah, so you're very right with what you said about the UK universities. I was interviewed by Oxford University when I was applying there. It was actually the only place that interviewed me because the other university didn't have interview processes. And all my questions were orientated around maths and physics and my personal statement. So on my personal statement, for example, I mentioned Maxwell's equations. And in my interview, they actually asked me to write Maxwell's equations. So had I been making that up, for example, that would have been a very bad thing on my side. They also asked me a lot of questions about drawing certain graphs or answering certain math questions. Whereas in the US, first of all, you're not interviewed by administration, you're interviewed by alumni members, so ex-Harvard students, and it's done in a place local to you. So I had, I think he was around a 60-year-old ex-student who was visiting London for work.
A 60-year-old?
Yeah.
Wow.
So I got to meet up with him and we met up at a coffee shop. It was very casual, just a conversation. He barely wrote anything down, and afterwards he went his way and I went my way. And it was just to see if the person that I put down on paper was the same person that he met. It's all about being authentic, and it's all about showing the person you are. So there wasn't any question about maths or physics or anything. It was all focused on who I was as a person, what I did in life, my journey, and that's it.
Awnit Singh ji, thank you very much for coming here today, sharing your experience, which is a mentoring process for those listening, viewing the program. And we are indeed, I think, privileged and honored to have you here, especially this 1 week visit or 10-day visit to the UK is such an intense period for you, because you have a brother who is getting engaged, another brother who is getting married in Europe. I can tell you an average Sikh will not have come here to do a program like this, a mentoring program like this for the rest of the community. And we are indeed honored, and thank you very much.
Thank you.
Sadh Sangat ji, thank you very much for joining us today, and we are looking forward to hosting such programs in the future. If you know anyone who is at Oxford, Cambridge, or any other elite universities, even in Asia, this is Tokyo University or the National University of Singapore or University of Sydney or the American universities, please let us know. And thank you very much for watching the program. And let's say Waheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Waheguru Ji Ki Fateh.